Good evening, everybody. Thank you for watching the Steve and Bobby Show. Again, my name is Steve Williams. I'm coming at you at the Mad Talk TV studios. Okay, I kind of want to talk and I kind of want to discuss something that has been bothering me, that's been going on. I put a segment last week pertaining to the fact of how Donald Trump has been treating, or how the generals, generals, and I gave a whole layout on why generals are important and how they think is important. Okay, if you don't, watch last week's show and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But what I'm seeing that's been being pushed from the right is this weird anti-American or anti-veteran, anti-military movement that has been going on in the right. It's kind of weird because usually they're pro-American. They love to wrap themselves around the flag, and they do all this stuff that's supposed to relate to the fact that they love veterans. But what I'm seeing and what I've noticed is that when Donald Trump is specific in his attacks on veterans and what they've done that don't maybe not necessarily align with his beliefs, he starts to attack them. Not only that, he does these weird little things that to me I find insulting. Like this that I'm about to show you about the Purple Heart vet that gave him a Purple Heart. Take a look.
A man came up to me and he handed me his Purple Heart. Now I said to him, is that like the real one or is that a copy? And he said, that's my real Purple Heart. I have such confidence in you. And I said, man, that's like big stuff. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
So for my veterans out there that saw that, I know there was a lot of you that contacted me pertaining to that when he said that. That is absolutely freaking disgusting what he said there, especially from a man that had 5 deferments in Vietnam. 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, or 5. 5 deferments. That guy had 5 deferments. Basically, the United States military asked him 5 different times to go to war, and 5 different times he deferred it because his daddy was rich and he had money. So when he holds up a Purple Heart, and said, oh, this is a much easier way, it's insulting. But that's not it. Take a look at this next video about what he did with John McCain. Take a look.
Call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president?
Okay, you got to let me speak though, Frank, because you interrupt all the time, okay? 15,000 people showed up to hear me speak, bigger than anybody, and everybody knows it. A beautiful day with incredible people that were wonderful, great Americans, I will tell you. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up, crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay?
Because he was captured. That's your president. That's your president right there, okay? 5 deferment. That's coming from a guy with 5 deferments. Oh, but he's not done. He's not done. Remember the troops that got killed in Niger? Listen to what he tells on one of the phone calls to one of the troops that was killed there, the wife of Johnson. Take a listen to what he told the spouse. Take a listen.
Carrying an American flag and his unborn child, the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson said goodbye as he was laid to rest in Florida. A quiet moment amidst a political storm that has overshadowed questions about how he died in Niger.
Been a friend of mine for a long time.
It began Monday when Donald Trump was questioned about his silence on the almost 2-week-old incident and whether he'd even called the families.
I like to call when it's appropriate, when I think I'm able to do it.
Trump called Johnson's widow the next day, and the controversy escalated when a Florida congresswoman revealed what he said.
But you know, he must have known what he signed up for. How could you say that to a grieving widow?
For days, Trump, the White House spokeswoman, and the chief of staff, John Kelly, a former general, all criticized the Congresswoman, though they essentially confirmed her account.
5 deferments. 5 deferments. And that's how he treats a wife that lost her husband in Niger. By the way, the Benghazi thing that killed 4, actually 3 of them weren't even American troops. They were mercenaries that used to be American troops and 1 ambassador. Yeah, we had almost $80 million worth of commissions on that. But the Niger incident, nothing. And then he calls the wife and says that's your president, 5 deferments. But we're not done. Of course not. We got some other stuff that our wonderful and lovable leader thinks about our veterans. Take a listen to what he said against the Khan family who lost their son. Take a listen.
This week, Donald Trump made good on one campaign promise.
I will unify and bring our country back together.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
But probably not in the way he intended.
The state of our union is in a war of words.
Donald Trump firing back at a growing chorus of critics. How dare you?
Even in the face of growing outrage, Trump tonight was defiant.
I was very viciously attacked.
Please welcome Kaiser Khan.
It all started with this speech.
Tonight, we are honored to stand here as parents of Captain Humayun Khan and as patriotic American Muslims.
The Muslim parents of a fallen soldier speaking at the Democratic National Convention. ABC's George Stephanopoulos asked Trump about the Khans.
How would you answer that, Father? What sacrifice have you made for your country?
I think I've made a lot of sacrifices. I work very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs, built great structures.
Those are sacrifices?
Oh, sure, I think they're sacrifices.
Trump went on to take a swipe at Ghazala Khan, who hadn't spoken a word.
She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me.
The Khans did not back down 1 inch.
I am very, upset when I heard that I didn't say anything because I was in the pain.
Running for president is not an entitlement to disrespect Gold Star family. Shame on him. Shame on his family.
That's a Gold Star family, people. It's a Gold Star family. If you don't know what a Gold Star family is, you need to look it up. Okay? That is a Gold Star family. It's insane. 5 deferments. 5 deferments. You want to know what true heroism and going into politics is? Take a listen to Tammy Duckworth, who actually earned a Purple Heart. Democratic of North Dakota, Tammy Duckworth. Take a listen.
I spent my entire adult life looking out for the well-being, the training, the equipping of the troops for whom I was responsible. Sadly, this is something the current occupant of the Oval Office does not seem to care to do. And I will not be lectured about what our military needs by a 5 deferment draft dodger. And I have a message for Cadet Bone Spurs. If you cared about our military, you'd stop baiting Kim Jong-un into a war that could put 85,000 American troops and millions of innocent civilians in danger.
Guess what? I'm going to say it again. 5 deferments, people. 5 deferments. Okay? That was, I said North Dakota. I'm sorry. She's from Illinois. My bad. Anyway, so all of this, because so you're asking me why am I bringing all this up? Because it's very important. Because recently we had a Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who was sent to the committee on the investigation of Donald Trump in Ukraine. And what does Donald Trump call Mr. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who, by the way, earned a Purple Heart in combat? Lieutenant Colonel Vindman is just as much of a patriot as anybody else, right? But Donald Trump and the Republican Party decide that they can insult, ridicule, and bring this man down just because they feel like it. Okay? He's a Purple Heart recipient. I got a video here. It's 2 minutes and 16 seconds because it's with Nicole Wallace, and you got to watch all of it. This is why I'm putting this together, because you got to see this. It's all for this right here. You got to see what I'm talking about. Listen to Nicole Wallace. She was so angry Take a look.
Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who is right now testifying in the impeachment probe, represents the beating heart of the quintessential American story. He and his family, Jewish refugees carrying only their suitcases and $750, that's based on reporting in the New York Times, fled the Soviet Union when he was 3 years old in search of a better life. His father worked multiple jobs and learned English at night so his son could grow up, graduate from college, receive a military commission, and serve the United States in the form of multiple overseas tours. On combat deployment in Iraq in 2003, Vindman was injured by an IED. He was awarded a Purple Heart. Vindman has a master's degree from Harvard. He's worked in several embassies, and he joined the National Security Council last year after passing an extensive background check, unlike some other West Wing advisors we know. His biography and his life of service make the attacks against him remarkable, at a time when attacks on once sacred institutions and their leaders have stopped being noteworthy or newsworthy. Trump went from not knowing him to calling him a never-Trumper in the course of an hour and a half this morning. But that's nothing compared to the smear campaign happening on cable news.
We also know he was born in the Soviet Union, immigrated with his family, young. He tends to feel simpatico with the Ukraine.
It seems very clear that he is incredibly concerned about Ukrainian defense. I don't know that he's concerned about American policy, but his main mission was to make sure that the Ukraine got those weapons. I understand that. We all have an affinity to our homeland where we came from. Like me, I'm sure that Vindman has the same affinity.
Here we have a U.S. national security official who is advising Ukraine while working inside the White House, apparently against the president's interest, and usually they spoke in English. Isn't that kind of an interesting angle on this story?
I find that astounding, and some people might call that espionage.
Except those people aren't chicken shit like the three of you, and they know that he passed a background check that the president's daughter and son-in-law didn't.
If you ever watch cable news, listen to Nicole Wallace call somebody chicken shit was gold. What's going on, Republicans? You guys used to be the party of the veterans. You guys used to support veteran causes and active duty causes. You guys used to be the ones that that so emphatically you defended. You guys believed in moral code. You believed in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You guys were the ones. Remember that? Where's that party at now? You guys turned into the party of Trump, and you've alienated your own principles to push your own agenda because you believe more in a president than you do of the country and the vets that fought for it. That's your thing that you're going to have to deal with, okay? Because history isn't going to be kind to you, because it's going to look back at these snapshots that you're seeing on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News live forever, and they're not going to be gone. Even though there's some cracks in the hole here, I want you to take a listen to this last video, which is of Liz Cheney kind of breaking from that. She's a Republican. Take a look.
Now, I also want to say a word about something else that's been going on over the course of the last several hours and last night, which I think is also shameful. And that is questioning the patriotism, questioning the dedication to country of people like Mr. Vindman, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who will be coming today, and others who have testified. I think that we need to show that we are better than that as a nation. Their patriotism, their love of country. We're talking about decorated veterans who have served this nation, who have put their lives on the line. And it is shameful to question their patriotism, their love of this nation, and we should not be involved in that process. We need to make sure that we are abiding by, upholding the Constitution.
Well, there's a couple there, and I think Liz Cheney is by herself because she doesn't rely on Trump for re-election. If you don't know who Liz Cheney is, that's Dick Cheney's wife. So she's a political powerhouse herself and doesn't rely on the present president to get her reelected. But this is where we're at, people. We've gone from patriots on both sides loving the military to the fact that we have a sitting U.S. president who has deferred his obligation to the country 5 different times. And the result of that is a political party that is backing that ideology. What do you think that's going to do for the children and the kids that are going to move on and want to join the service and be ridiculed by sitting politicians. Anyway, that's where we're at. Anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching the Steve and Bobby Show. My name is Steve Williams. We're filming here at the Mad Talk TV studios here in Fresno, California. I appreciate so much the guys that are in the back that you don't see, which is G and KP. Appreciate you guys. See us on the other side. I really, really appreciate you.